On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, it's just a Jack and Payton show this week. No Kenny, but Payton and I did a little breakdown of the rest of Mizzou's schedule. We thought a little last show of the bye. We took a brief look at A&M. Obviously, touched a little bit on their game against Arkansas, but kind of just did a confidence meter for the rest of Mizzou's schedule after these first couple weeks. Get a chance to see some of these teams that Mizzou's going to play, and obviously with such an advantageous schedule for Mizzou, I think it's worth looking at and scrutinizing because I think Mizzou. We at least felt a little spoiler glimpse into the episode. We at least felt they're looking pretty good for a lot of the rest of their games. So we just dove into that, talked about some of these teams, just did kind of a general look at that again while we're kind of got some bye week lull, the tail end of the bye week lull, and now obviously we roll into A&M week, and we'll have a big A&M preview on Friday, of course, for that show with Kenny back. So we just did that. We talked a bunch of college football, talked to the Bama-Georgia game a little bit during quick hits. We touched on Tyler Badie, and obviously our thoughts are with him after his injury, and talked some NFL as well. It gave some takes for the rest of the NFL season, Peyton and I did. So just a good show. Again, just a bye week show to kind of enjoy for Monday as you start A&M week, and we kind of get into the news and all that stuff. So again, our confidence meters for the rest of Mizzou's SEC schedule was the main bulk of the show for today, and we will roll into a Texas A&M preview on Friday. So until then, enjoy the Peyton and Jack special. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, September 30th, and it's the Jack and Peyton show for this show. As I said in the intro, Kenneth is not here, but me and Peyton are holding it down for the last calm before the storm of this week, because it's Texas A&M hate week. Peyton, how nice was it to have a weekend of college football with no Mizzou game to sweat over?
It was pretty nice to have that kind of week off. I'm sure Mizzou themselves will even agree with that. And it went pretty well for Mizzou. Utah lost, Ole Miss lost. So Missouri's back into the top 10, which we'll get into. Hopefully they've figured everything they need to figure out. A&M, like you said, it's A&M week, and that's a big swing game for them.
Yeah, it's the only ranked game, I think, too, this coming week. At least the last time I looked at the week 6 slate, I think they're the only two ranked teams playing this week. It's kind of a bad college football slate, so it's nice to have a Mizzou game that you can just focus on when every other game kind of stinks. You can just lock into Texas A&M. But yeah, obviously we'll get into a big preview on Thursday. But what we wanted to do today was go through starting with Texas A&M. We obviously did our season predictions at the beginning of the year, but I thought it'd be worthwhile, every team's played 4 games now, of going through and giving our kind of confidence meter for the rest of Mizzou's opponents for the rest of the season. And obviously we've seen 4 games of Mizzou, what has maybe changed in your opinion of each opponent based on what you've seen from them and from Mizzou. Obviously, I think we'll just start with Texas A&M. We'll just go in order. We'll give our confidence meter. We should talk a little A&M though. Last week, beat Arkansas in the Cotton Bowl. They played. We had to have the disgraced Arkansas playing on the hallowed ground that Mizzou once played on, Peyton. That was
correct, in the Cotton Bowl.
All right, if you're listening or watching, I guess there might be a weird clunk in there. My computer decided to, have a hot flash and lag out, so I had to fix something. But yeah, A&M, Peyton, we're going to start with them. So like I said, we'll go through each of the teams, kind of give our confidence meter, talk about what they've kind of done throughout the year so far, and then what we like in terms of Mizzou's chances. But let's talk a little A&M for a second. They beat Arkansas 21-17 in Jerry World, the Cotton Bowl, the hallowed ground of Mizzou. at this
Mhm.
point. They're 4-1. They got ranked, which Kenny has a quick hit about that we'll talk about when we get there. So it's a ranked matchup against Mizzou. I guess what does your confidence meter say? And also I guess I should put a quantifier on it. I was just thinking, 1 through 100% type deal. Where are you at with that right now? And what have you seen from A&M? This is a 4-1 Texas A&M team. They lost their big one to Notre Dame, to start the season. Beat Florida, beat Arkansas. They've got a couple of SEC wins against kind of meh competition. There's a quarterback situation. What do you like, or how are you feeling about Mizzou in this game, and what have you seen from A&M?
Yeah, I mean, A&M is an interesting team because they lost probably the biggest game they've had to this point in the season. Well, definitely their biggest game to this point in the season to Notre Dame. And I mean, they did not look good at all. Wegman did not play well, and Wegman's been hurt since then. It's been Marcel Reed taking over for A&M, but A&M's responded well. They just beat an Arkansas team that's kind of been a bit tougher than I think a lot of people were expecting. They beat the crap out of Florida. I know the final score wasn't too bad in that one, but A&M was in control start to finish. So A&M's a good team. Mike Elko, I think, has that program probably steering in the right direction. It's just a matter of are they there yet? No, I don't think they're a playoff team or anything like that, but they're definitely a team that can ruin a team like Mizzou's season. If I had to put a big thing for Mizzou is they're going to College Station for this one. We don't know if it's going to be Wegman or Reed. Wegman's kind of been close to playing the last couple of weeks. I know they were kind of hoping to have him against Arkansas, but he wasn't quite there, so they just went with Reed. Reed gives you a little more mobility back there, but either way, I think this is a game Missouri should go in and expect to win, but I'm only going to put my confidence in it at about a 50 or a 55 for now.
Okay.
This is definitely, I think, a game that could go either way. It's at A&M. Luckily, it is 11 a.m., so that crowd hopefully will not be as fired up and ready to go. But again, we got to see how Missouri comes off the bye, if they've really ironed out all the problems, maybe not even all of them, but just some of the problems they've been having lately. They're going to have to play better than they did against Vanderbilt by a lot to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. This Marcel Reed guy intrigues me because obviously we know a little bit more about Wegman, and like you said, he's been pretty close to playing. You'd think if he was healthy, he probably is going to play, but this kid Reed hasn't been too bad. Like you said, he's completed about 54% of his passes, which I guess isn't great, but 6 touchdowns, no interceptions so far, and he has 230 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. So like you said, he's got that kind of dual threat ability. He's got a few games under his belt. He is only a freshman. This would obviously be the best team he's faced in his career when he plays against Mizzou. Against Arkansas, he was 11 for 22, 2 touchdowns, 163 yards through the air, and then 10 carries for 13 yards. He was sacked 3 times, so factor that in with the rushing yards. But he kind of intrigues me versus like Wegman. Obviously, he's got a little bit more experience under his belt. You'd think if he was good to go. And I guess we'll kind of find out right on Wednesday will be our first real indication because they've got these SEC injury reports now that they'll release. So that'll probably be our first big, unless Mike Elko comes out on Monday or whatever and says 100% he's going to be playing. But it seems kind of like if it's going to be how these last few weeks have gone, they'll probably take the week and let it, figure out where he's at before that. But that's a big factor going into this. I did 65% on my confidence meter, Payton. I feel like, we talked about it. I don't think you can really overstate it. The bye week, I feel like, came at the best time it could for Mizzou. I feel like they really needed this. Drinkwitz, we know some things about the bye week with Drinkwitz. He sometimes lets players go home and really gives them that time to kind of, unwind. And it sort of feels like they need that. I just think they've played these games and it's looked really tight. Starting with Brady Cook, he's kind of looked just clunky. I don't know if maybe they just need a refreshing week, but I think the week off is going to be big for them. If this was in Columbia, how much, like, what would that change on your meter? Where would you be at if it was at home? I guess it's a dumb question
Probably
because it's not, but
the 60, 65 range.
okay.
I think I like, because I think Missouri's the better team. They have the home advantage. But A&M is still like a tough team. That defensive front they have, which we'll touch on all of this more as we get closer to game day. But I mean, that defensive front they have is mean and nasty. It's a good team. So I mean, this is not a game Missouri can play anything less than. They have to be on pretty much an A game, I think, especially going to College Station.
Definitely. It's a big prove it game. It's a ranked game. I mean, A&M's ranked for a reason. They didn't lose to any slouch. Notre Dame is a good team, even if they decide to lose to a MAC school every once in a while. But yeah, I'll stick at 65. I'm gonna write these down. We can save them. Maybe it'll change over the course of the week. But yeah, there's A&M. All right, this next one I figure can be pretty fast. Like I said, we're going in chronological order. Mizzou at UMass, of course, on October 12th. What is your confidence meter against the Minutemen, Payton?
100. I mean, that should be not a are you going to win? It's how much are you going to win by?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I did 99 because I just decided to make it I can't have it as 100. I'm gonna be like, I capped it at 99. All I'll say about UMass, they are 1-4. They've lost to Eastern Michigan, Toledo, Miami of Ohio, and Buffalo, who of course Mizzou beat. So there's a common opponent there.
Great.
Yeah, it's just insane. I mean, we can talk a little bit more about the AP poll in a bit, but I mean, Mizzou is back in the top 10. If they beat A&M, they will obviously remain in the top 10 and maybe even climb a little bit depending on what happens. And you could have like a number 7 Mizzou team going to, what is UMass's stadium's capacity? I'm going to look it up.
I couldn't tell you, but
UMass football stadium capacity.
It's
17,000.
It's a piece of garbage stadium too. I mean, it is ugly.
17,000. Warren McGurk Alumni Stadium, 1964. It was built. So there you go. Yeah, you're gonna have a top 10 team playing in there, at least a top 15 team, probably, even if Mizzou loses to A&M in that venue. Like, I'm already preparing for. I feel like we've had this happen as the college football season came closer, where you see that one big account be like, hey, I was just going through schedules. Why is Missouri playing at UMass? And on the day of that game, it's just going to be a barrage of tweets being like, who the hell let this happen? That's going to suck. But
yep. Every time someone discovers it, they tweet about it, and it goes a little viral, and rightfully so. It's absurd.
It's bad. It's bad. Curse you, Jim Sturk. I guess that's all I'll end at that. Yeah, they better win that game by 1,000,000 points. All right. Next one. Back at home. Homecoming, in fact. And in the sandwich in the middle of 3 road games. I guess unless you don't really want to count UMass because that's just a bleh game. But Auburn at home, Payton. What is your confidence meter on Auburn? What are your thoughts on the Auburn Tigers? Because I think every SEC fan I talk to has very strong opinions toward Auburn. It's their an interesting case study this season.
Yeah, they're no good. I think I'd probably put Mizzou at like a 80, pretty much. Hunter's a good running back. Coleman's obviously a very talented receiver. They don't have a quarterback. Payton Thorne is a turnover machine. Hank Brown started a couple games and was no good. It's homecoming. It's at home. This is not a game that I view in the same light as I did earlier in the year. Auburn is not a good football team, and I think Missouri will handle them just fine.
Yeah, I had Missouri as an 85%. Actually, you know what? I just realized a good thing to match this up to is the matchup predictor thing that ESPN puts out, their analytics. They have Missouri 72.3% chance to win this game. Auburn's 2-3. They've lost their last 2 games. Did you watch any of their game against Oklahoma over the weekend?
Yes, I watched a lot of it actually. They had the ball in Oklahoma territory, and Payton Thorne threw a pick 6. I mean, Payton Thorne is not good, and Auburn is not a good team because they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, I very much agree. They losing that game in just wild fashion. Like they had no business losing that. They were in control. And Oklahoma, I mean, we'll get to them, like isn't anything really to write home about. And yes, it was in Auburn, but yeah, absolutely blew that game. They also have to play Georgia the week before this game happens. So not great. Not great. Oh, actually, I messed it up. They do have a bye week, so they have some extra time to recover from Georgia before they have to go play Missouri. But yeah, I am not very high on Auburn. I've got Missouri at an 85. You put them in 80. This next one, tone's going to shift a little bit. Going down to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama, which just played one of maybe the best games I've seen in the last few years against Georgia. What's your confidence level now with Mizzou at Bama?
Pretty low. I think that if you had asked me like in the first half of that game, I'd have given you a negative number as my answer here. I'll put it at like a 5 to 10 range. And it's more just about Alabama than Mizzou. I think Alabama's really good. Now, if Mizzou, I mean, Georgia in the second half did give you the blueprint. I mean, you got to just kind of really get Alabama to kind of just out of like rhythm, basically. I mean, they really kind of took their foot off the gas and Georgia capitalized. And until the very end, I mean, Alabama was not kind of able to fire back up its offense. But I still don't think that's a very likely game for Mizzou. I think it's the only one that I'll say they don't have 50 or better odds in.
Yeah. I think I agree with that when I look at the rest of my projections. I think I have everything else above 50. That's a little bit of a spoiler. What do you think the matchup predictor on ESPN has?
Probably Alabama as like an 80, 85.
86.2.
Yeah,
they put.
That's fair. I mean, at Alabama is no place I'd want to play.
No, I had Mizzou as a 20%. I've been a little nicer has been the theme. I feel like of this exercise so far. There is a little bit of blueprint there. Alabama was the best team in the country for the first quarter and a half of that game. They got rewarded as being named the best team in the country in the AP poll for their win over Georgia this week. I'm intrigued about that game. The thing I feel like I've been saying when I think about this game is I'm hoping it's just going to be a really fun one because I think both of these offenses are really explosive, or at least Mizzou's can be if it kind of gets itself into gear or into the gear that we know it can be in. That's kind of always been my take, and I wasn't super sure about Alabama's defense, but their defense is for real. They are ferocious. They can do a lot of different things. They're really talented. So I think that'll probably end up being the difference in the game. If it is a shootout, otherwise Alabama might just kind of stomp them out at home. But yeah, I will go 20% for Mizzou. All right, next one. Back at home for the Tigers against Oklahoma. Payton, what's your confidence?
Yeah, I'll give Mizzou like kind of similar to Auburn, a little less than Auburn, I'd say 70, 75. I think Missouri is definitely the better team than Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold was a mess, and they've made the switch to a true freshman in Michael Hawkins, who's talented, but he is a true freshman. He went into Auburn and helped them come away with a win. But again, that was a lot more on Auburn than Oklahoma's doing. I'm not a big fan of Oklahoma. They have a defense that can probably keep it close. I don't think Missouri's going to really blow them out or anything, but I'm pretty confident Missouri, assuming they're still like in the hunt for a playoff spot, I think they'll probably come away with this one.
Yeah, the no quarterback thing is big for me. The guy Barnes that you were talking about, or not Barnes, Hawkins that you were talking about. Yeah, he's a freshman. It's crazy too. I feel like we came into this season being like, dude, both Jackson Arnold and Nico Iamaleava both like succeed and take their teams to new heights, and it's gone in complete opposite directions for both Oklahoma and Tennessee. And I'm sure glad that Mizzou has to play Oklahoma, not Tennessee. Yeah, Hawkins, I mean, he didn't do really anything against Auburn. He ran for a touchdown and he had one good rush for like 48 yards, but yeah, not that confident. Defense is pretty good. I went 65. Matchup predictor right now has Mizzou 63.5% chance to win. So
Fair
kind
enough.
of right in the ballpark there. I do agree that Stutzman guy at linebacker for Oklahoma is really good.
Yeah, they have a very strong defense. Their
legit.
secondary is not fantastic, but their front seven's really good.
I think this is another one too that I'd be a little less if it wasn't at Faroe, if they had to go to Norman, but I think it helps a lot that it's at home. Next one, South Kakalaka on the road for the Missouri Tigers. November 16th is the date for this game. Payton, would you like the matchup projector first, or would you like to say your one first?
I'll hear it. I don't think it's going to change my pick.
ESPN currently has Mizzou with a 56.8% chance to win this game.
Yeah, South Carolina, this is a big trap game because it's right after the Oklahoma and Alabama games. Luckily, I mean, they have the bye week between Alabama and Oklahoma, but I mean, if you beat Oklahoma, assuming you haven't lost to anyone other than Alabama, you're probably feeling like, okay, we got 3 games in front of us against teams we're better than. If we just handle our business, we'll be going to the playoff. But I mean, you'd still have to go into South Carolina and win that game. I know it's a team that Drinkwitz has just absolutely owned throughout his career, but South Carolina, I mean, their edge rushers are absolutely unbelievable. The 5-star who's the freshman whose name is escaping me. I feel bad. Just an athletic free who?
I'll find him. Is it Kennard?
Yeah. No. I don't think so. He's a true freshman. So I mean, he's got
Dylan Stewart.
Yes, Dylan Stewart. That's it. Unreal bend. He's an absolute monster. Their D-line in general is good. They just have athletes all over the place. Sellers is up and down, but I mean, that is a team that could absolutely get Mizzou if they're not focused. I'll go 65 or so, around there. A little more confident than I am in Texas A&M, but still not super duper confident. You know, that's a game that Missouri could definitely lose. I'm not saying they're going to. I don't think they will. If they're playing for everything we hope they're playing for late in the year. But South Carolina is definitely the trickiest of the bunch in that last fourth of the season.
Yeah, I did Mizzou at 70 right now. I think I'm still caught up on that weird Old Dominion game for South Carolina, and this one I feel like is going to change because they'll maybe beat someone really big, like in the build up to it, and we might get a little bit more worried. Payton, South Carolina, I want to read you their schedule. So they just beat Akron 50-0. Their next games: home against Ole Miss, at Alabama, at Oklahoma, home against A&M. And then they play Vanderbilt and then Missouri. So it's a tough schedule. It's a tough next few slate of games. But I feel like if they win maybe one of those, if they pull off an upset against somebody, or maybe if they beat A&M handily a couple of weeks before, I feel like I'll start to get a lot more worried about that being a trap game. And yeah, good on you for bringing up this guy Stewart. Dylan Stewart stats right now: 8 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles as a true freshman. That is absurd.
He's really good.
Yeah, they've got Sellers. They've got Rocket Sanders too, who it seems like they've kind of brought him back from the dead. He has 4 touchdowns, 300 rushing yards already. They have that guy Haber, who's like he's the NCAA 25 guy, right? That had like 99 speed and 99 strength or whatever, the receiver. I know they had somebody, but yeah, I'll go 70. I could see this one changing. But South Carolina has a gauntlet coming up in its next 4 games, and some athletes. Shane Beamer. This podcast doesn't need to revisit how we feel about Shane Beamer.
Yeah, not a fan.
Not a drawer we need to open again. All right, second to last game: Missouri against Mississippi State on the road in those Cowbells in Starkville. This one, matchup predictor has Mizzou 77.3%. What would you give it?
Yeah, I'll go past the matchup predictor on that. I have this one at a 90. Toledo came into Starkville and beat Mississippi State by like 30. It's just not been a good year one under Jeff Levy. Chapin's kind of been just not what they hoped. It's been ugly. There's no other way around it, really. That's not a team that intimidates me at all. It's a tough road environment, no doubt, but it wasn't tough enough for MAC school. I don't think it'll be tough enough for a Mizzou team that, if it goes the way we think, will be 2 wins away from being in the playoff.
Yeah, this is one I've all of my college football takes right now have generally just burnt already. And I remember we talked preseason. I was like, this is my trap game for Mizzou. I don't like the Starkville Cowbells. That feels just like a weird, gives me like Auburn vibes. I just feel like weird crap always happens down there. And I feel like every time I've turned Mississippi State on, the place is just empty. And Toledo has since gone in there, like you said, beating them snot out of them. So yeah, they just lost to Texas. They have to play Georgia A&M. Actually, they share another common opponent, Payton, in UMass. They also have to play UMass a couple of weeks before.
Lovely.
Mizzou. Fun fact.
A lot of SEC games for UMass this year.
Before this game, it's on November 23rd. Before this game, they will have a bye week, and they play Tennessee 2 weeks prior. So, yeah, I did 89. The only reason I didn't want to go all the way to 90 is just because of the Cowbells. I'm still factoring that in. Just something about them Cowbells. But yeah, I'm not super worried about this one. And then rounding out the season, we kind of talked a little bit about them at the start because they just played A&M. Arkansas against Mizzou on November 30th. Matchup predictor, Payton, 69.6. Nice number in favor of the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm going to stick right around that number. I'll give it a 70, 75 ranking around there. Again, I still think Missouri is plenty better than Arkansas, but Arkansas, they're a little more solid, I think, than a lot of people anticipated, myself included. Taylor Green, I feel like if you can just force him to play quarterback, you're probably going to be okay. But he's really, really dangerous if you're not containing him well. So I don't really worry about this one too much, but there is a world that exists, absolutely, that Arkansas wins.
The running game's been pretty good. Taylor Green, like you said, can run. He's got 4 touchdowns, like 330 yards. And then they got that Jaquindon Jackson guy who already has 509 yards and 9 touchdowns this year. That's a very, very good clip. And then Green's already over 1,000 yards throwing as well. So yeah, they're a little bit more kind of feisty than I thought. They were going to be coming into the year. I really thought. Do you still think? I think you had said it where you were like, Drinkwitz will be shaking somebody else's hand other than Sam Pittman when that game ends. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think he's bought himself another year already. Yeah,
no, I think he's probably safe at least for till then. It'd be funny to see him coach against Bobby Petrino, but I do agree. I don't think it'll be anyone other than Pittman at this point.
They play Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, and Texas, as well as Mizzou among ranked SEC teams. So they only have one SEC game that's not ranked. And it's also Mississippi State, which I guess that's probably the case for most of this conference because it's just a absurd one. So there you go. There's our confidence meter. I'll revisit it. So Payton, you have 75% for Arkansas, 90 for Mississippi against Mississippi State, 65 against South Carolina, 75 against Oklahoma, 10 against Alabama, 80 against Auburn, 99 against UMass, and then 55 at A&M. Do you want to change any of those upon reflection?
Nope. Let's lock it in, I think.
He's locked in. All right. Yeah, I'm excited. I think overall, despite Mizzou's struggles and some other teams overperforming, I feel like everyone's kind of been as good as we thought they'd be in terms of the opponents, like right now going into some of those games. Who do you think the biggest one that could shift is? Like maybe a surprise, like either really good or really bad at this point? I feel like maybe South Carolina, they do something sneaky, but their schedule is just so hard that I don't know if I see that happening.
Maybe Oklahoma, if Hawkins really turns it up or something like that, I could see that one shifting towards more of 50-50, but that would probably be the one I would say mostly.
Yeah. And I think the exciting thing too is Mizzou is still pretty leniently favored in all of these besides Alabama. So I think that bodes well.
I would agree.
Yeah, so we're all going into this, it was always going to be on paper, is a pretty easy schedule. It's so far been proven to be, but Mizzou's got to win, and that starts with Texas A&M. So, yeah, there you go. There's more of a brief look at the SEC. We're going to go to quick hits, and we'll probably talk some stuff from the last weekend. But I'll throw a fun one out before we do that, Payton. Any bold SEC takes, Mizzou related or otherwise, after watching the first 4 weeks of the season? Putting you on the spot.
Bold takes. No, pretty much everything I've expected to happen has happened outside of, I don't know. I didn't expect Ole Miss to lose to Kentucky, I guess, but I would just say that the middle of the conference is also pretty strong this year. You got teams like Kentucky, LSU. I would kind of put more in the middle right now, and they're a top 15 team.
Yeah.
Oklahoma and Auburn maybe haven't looked great, but they have good things about them. Auburn has a great running back. They have a pretty solid defense. They just don't have a good quarterback. Oklahoma kind of ditto for them. They just have maybe it gets jump started by Hawkins, but they're more of a defensive team. I guess Tennessee has surprised me a bit. I didn't think they'd look this good. I thought they'd look good this year, but not that good. So I'd probably say Tennessee.
Nico Heisman?
Probably not that, no.
My take in the preseason, my dark horse SEC champion take was Ole Miss, and that got thrown in the trash bin yesterday or on Saturday. So that was brutal. But yeah, I can't. I feel like I can't really speak. I've been so wrong already with some of my predictions. So hopefully that's not the case with Mizzou, because I obviously picked them to win pretty much all these games. So we'll see. Like I said, Thursday we'll get into more of a deep dive into A&M with Kenny back. But I thought we'd take just a broader look to wrap up the bye week at what's kind of coming before we then narrow it back down and look at A&M next week. So we'll do that next week. For now, though, we will finish this show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. Once again, to recap, if you're not watching on the YouTube, it is just Payton and I. So we're pulling Kenny's lazy move when he doesn't have a better quiz for us and doing the Daily Dozen Trivia for Ken Sports Shorts because he's not here to pick us a quiz. So Payton,
Correct.
How many do you think we're going to get right? Let's call it right now.
I don't know. I really want us to get the college basketball one, though, because we're college basketball fans, so I'd like for us to get that.
Yeah. If you know that one right away, let me guess. That's what I'm going to say in advance.
Well, I'm going to say we're going to get 3.
I'm going to go 5. I'll back us.
Oh, you're going
I'll go 5.
Over 50. Nice.
Yeah, let's do it. All right,
let's find out.
Let's go. NFL question.
The Cowboys drafted this wide receiver in round 2 out of Pittsburgh in 2002, but he had 1,000 receiving yard season. He had 1,000 plus receiving yard seasons with the Browns in 2005 and Buccaneers in 2008. So this guy didn't last long there. And I don't know who it is.
The only wide receiver from Pitt I know is Larry Fitzgerald. And this is obviously not him.
Yeah,
Josh Cribbs?
No, that would have been. No, I don't.
A little later.
Him.
Should come back to it.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
All right. MLB, this is all you.
With the Detroit Tigers qualifying for the 2024 wild card, the longest active MLB playoff drought belongs to what American League team? So the Royals also made it, so it's not them. The Astros no, Rangers no,
Athletics,
Mariners no, A's maybe. We'll back pocket them, but they've made it relatively recently. It was like 2017 when they made it. Orioles just made it, so no, not the Rays, not the Yankees, not the Red Sox. Don't think it'd be the Blue Jays. No, it definitely wouldn't be the Blue Jays. So that's nobody in the AL East. AL Central, who else?
Let him cook.
White Sox just made it. It might be the A's. You might be dead on with that. Which
I feel like they'd ask this question too. With didn't they just play their last ever game in the Coliseum because they're moving?
Yeah, and they made it in 2020 is the thing.
Oh.
So unless the Blue Jays just haven't the Blue Jays made it this decade?
When did the Guardians last go?
This year.
Oh,
And definitely, like, at least if they didn't make it last year, they made it the year before. The Twins also made it. Oh man.
this is all
I
you.
wanna.
I'm
I
locking
kind
in
of.
the A's.
I want to go A's or Blue Jays. I'm gonna go with A's as well. If it's not the A's, I think it's the Blue Jays. When have the Blue Jays made it? No, I'm going A's. Nope, it's probably the Blue Jays then.
Damn.
College
Right.
basketball. Australian-born basketball players Matthew Della. Okay, we both know this one. Matthew Dellavedova, Jock Landale, and Patty Mills all played for what school? West Coast Conference. We know this.
Were they all? Was it St. Mary's or Gonzaga?
Yep, St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
It is indeed
I was gonna
St.
say I
Mary's.
was like Landale's a St. Mary's guy. Yeah.
Retail and shopping. This major chain of pet stores has a logo that features its name in red and blue letters and a red ball bouncing over the letters. Is that Petco?
No, yeah. Definitely Petco.
Yeah, Petco. Okay, it wasn't Petco.
Was it?
Oh, it's PetSmart.
PetSmart.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be PetSmart. Petco is the one. Petco is the one with the dog and cat.
Yeah. Yep.
Name the two celebrities mashed in this photo. This is Harry Lyles is definitely one.
Harry Styles.
Yeah, Styles. Who's Lyles? I don't know.
Noah.
You know who the other one is?
No.
I don't know that face at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hannah Montana.
Isn't it?
AKA Miley Cyrus.
Cyrus.
We're not going to spend all day on this, and the people listening
I think she
can't even hear it.
You can't even see
Yeah,
it.
okay, that wasn't. Cereal. From 1984 to 1993, Quaker Oats produced this crispy sweet corn oat cereal that featured the cartoon likeness of an actor known for his work as part of the A-Team and Rocky 3. Is this Mr. T?
Yeah, but is it Mr. T? Oh.
It's Mr. T.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
we got it.
Good stuff.
Television. Based on a novel of the same name from 2015 to 2019, this Amazon Prime series depicted a parallel universe where the Axis powers won World War II. I know the answer to this. Do you?
Is it The Man in the High Castle?
Correct.
Let's go. Hey, we're 2 away from 5, and we got the baseball one wrong.
Yeah. That baseball one is definitely going to be Blue Jays. I'm going to hate myself. Michael Fassbender, this movie's. Michael Fassbender, Noomi Rapace, and Idris Elba starred in this 2012 sci-fi horror prequel film that polarized critics and fans, but was a commercial success.
Oh, no.
Prometheus.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we've surpassed mine.
Yeah, one
And we
more
have
for 5.
Music and NFL potentially still. Music. This hip-hop group released hits in the 1980s like Insane in the Brain, Dr. Green Thumb, and Throw Your Set in the Air. Okay, I know Insane in the Brain. I don't know who sang it. Do you?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Insane in the Membrane.
Hip-hop. This is bad.
Insane in the
I wish I knew
Brain.
this.
I don't know. Do you know any 1980s hip-hop groups?
I mean, you could just do like the Wu-Tang Clan, but I don't think that's them.
Don't either, but we're going to go with it. All right, NFL, we got to figure this out. We need a Buccaneers player in 08.
I wasn't thinking about this at all.
I'm going to see the name and probably know it, but like I don't know who this is.
I don't have a name to get.
It's not Josh Cribbs.
Well, Browns in 2005, because the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl in 2005, right? But he wasn't on the Buccaneers.
It was,
then.
I think, earlier than that, but it's not Vincent Jackson, obviously.
Antoine Randall.
Don't think that's it. No. Mike Williams. I don't know.
It's not a bad guess. Just guess the plainest name.
Nope. I do want to retry. We have the double dip. I'm gonna.
Oh, so yeah,
I'm gonna do this on the baseball one and do Blue
get
Jays.
the Mickey Mouse Blue Jays one.
It was not the Blue Jays either. Unbelievable.
All right, let's see.
So let's see here. View the correct answers. Antonio Bryant was the receiver drafted by the Cowboys out of Pittsburgh and had 1,000-yard years with the
Would have never
Browns and
got that
Bucks.
one. I'm not
Dang.
gonna lie.
I know the name. I never would have gotten that. MLB. Oh, the Angels. We went. I didn't go. I should have gone through the whole AL West. I would have gotten that. We did get that one correct. Retail and shopping. It was PetSmart.
Which we could have got 5 on this.
Yeah. Okay, so Harry Styles was the
Thurman.
correct answer, and it's Uma Thurman with him. And music, Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill.
Would not have gotten that.
Yeah,
So there you go.
That's fine. All right. We could have got 5. I'm actually a little disappointed. I think we could have got better.
Yeah.
We could have got better. All right. Good quizzing, Peyton. Or, well, I guess bad quizzing. I'm a little bit disappointed in us. We could have done better, I think. But you know what? We'll get our third member of our team back next week, and we'll have a better quiz. We got Tigers in the Wild. I will be reading this for Kenny. This is a tough one. He's going with Tyler Badie, who really just like super scary to see. Got a super bad injury to his back in playing for the Broncos against the Jets in the early window. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see it. It's not, it doesn't look super gruesome, but it obviously ended up being really bad. He got just kind of speared in the back by a helmet. Made it to the sidelines apparently, and then just went down, had to get like a stabilizer and a stretcher to help him off. Super scary to see for any player. Obviously, we watched Tyler Badie in college, and being a Missouri guy, it just sucks to see. He really seemed like he was starting to get some good form under him too for the Broncos, and just awful. Obviously, the number one thing is hopefully he's okay, but yeah, super scary and unfortunate, but definitely didn't want to not acknowledge it just because obviously our thoughts are with him. Hopefully he can make an all right recovery, because those things are scary, Peyton, those types of injuries.
No, definitely. I mean, and a week after having just such a good game, I mean, The Athletic did a profile on him this week and kind of said like he should probably be making his way into the Broncos running back rotation. To have this happen, I believe it was his first carry of the game. Just not only for just his professional life, but his just well-being. I mean, it's sad to see, scary, like you said. I mean, it did not look like a brutal hit. It was just, it almost looked like it hit him in just the right way to where he kind of like got rattled. I don't even know what to really think. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to diagnose him.
Yeah.
But it was scary. I mean, like you said, he had he laid on the sideline and had the backboard kind of placed under him. Hopefully he is able to heal up, because I mean, he was starting to really make noise in Denver. So I hope it's nothing too bad.
Yeah. Hopefully he's okay. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on the headlines and stuff like that, and see what kind of comes out in the next couple of days. But hopefully he can bounce back from that one, because like you said, he was having a good season. Really was starting to click for the Broncos. So yeah, we will. Our thoughts are with him. Hopefully he bounces back and can be okay from that injury. Just tough to see. With that, never easy to segue off of a tough injury story. But Peyton, I will let you do the segue, my friend. What is your Tiger in the Wild?
Yeah, we'll try and pick it up a little bit, mood wise, with one of the better games I think I've ever watched. Boy, man, this Georgia-Alabama game, and the Tiger in the Wild, of course, is going to be Dominic Lovett, who notably transferred from Missouri to their former SEC East rival, the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, coming into this game, it was obviously game of the week, number 2 Georgia, number 4 Alabama. It absolutely did not live up to the hype early. I mean, Bama was up 28-0 early, 30-7 at half, but I mean,
Dominic Lovett,
like we mentioned, bad OPI. There were 3 OPIs, and Dominic Lovett had one of them. But man, this game in the second half got real good. Georgia finally took the lead. Was it Dylan Bell, I believe, was the one who caught that pass from Beck to give Georgia the 34-33 lead with like 2 minutes left? But man, Ryan Williams, he is a phenomenal player. I mean, you look at just not even just the touchdown he had, like one play after the Dylan Bell touchdown that gave Georgia the lead. 6 receptions, 177 yards, and a touchdown. The kid is 17 years old, and he is making plays like that in the best conference in college football by head and shoulders, mind you. Just a phenomenal game. Ryan Williams is a phenomenal talent. It's games like that that kind of remind you why you really watch football. Boy, I'm glad Missouri does not have to play both of these teams like some teams in the league do. But yeah, very good game. The class of the SEC, it's where you hope it's those are games you hope Missouri plays in one day.
Yeah, we had to talk about this game, talk about the week of college football. I make no secret on this show. My real life job, I cover Alabama. I was on the field at the end of this game. This is the most insane football game I've ever watched in person. I've obviously watched some great Mizzou games. I've watched some pretty terrible Mizzou games also. You put it spot on, Payton. Like the plays that were happening at the end of that game. I mean, you go from back-to-back 60-plus yard touchdowns at the end of the game. The lead goes back and forth, and then it ends with a game-sealing interception, which was also made by a true freshman, by the way, a kid named Zabian Brown, who had a good game. Like you said, it's just like it was like the recess football type of ending that you just live for. It was awesome. Ryan Williams I think I texted you. He had a play in the first half where he did look like Luther Burden after the catch. I'm very excited to kind of play up him and Luther Burden being these two kind of electric receivers when Mizzou plays Bama in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, the kid is I legitimately, I don't know if he'd need another 2 years at the college level other than for his own physical, like to get bigger. But I mean, he is a NFL talent as a 17-year-old kid. It is pretty damn special to watch. It's and like to go behind the scenes a little bit. I mean, super with DeBoer being there now, freshmen are allowed to talk to the media at Alabama. They weren't allowed to under Nick Saban. So we've been able to talk to Ryan. I don't know how he does it. I'm not really sure he knows what he's doing. It's kind of insane. Like he's very humble. Just kind of he looks like a kid that's just going out and playing football like how we did playing Madden or at recess. But he's doing it, against the best teams in college football. It's ridiculous. I think everyone should just kind of enjoy it. Unless you're an Auburn fan, I guess then you'll probably hate it. But if you're not a fan of Alabama's direct rival, I think just sit back and watch because it's fun. That said, Toriana Pride's going to lock him up.
Yeah, I hope that I don't envy Corey Batoon having a game plan for that one. You gotta have. You have Jalen Milroe, who, you see it: 16 carries, 117 yards. That's 7.3 a carry on two touchdowns. And then he goes out and he averages over 11 yards of completion. He's got a cannon of an arm. A receiver in Ryan Williams who is more than capable of being a huge deep threat for them. And you also have to account for the fact that he's an insane athlete and can absolutely break a game with his legs as well. Good luck, Corey. That is a tough assignment. And I don't envy you trying to figure it out.
He's got my Heisman pick right now. He's played phenomenally in every single game.
Yeah. If I had to vote, I'd vote Milroe as well.
I think too, there's going to be a team that just falls in love with him in the NFL and picks him maybe higher than people might even project him to go, just because he has he can do things that a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL right now can't do. There's some decision-making stuff that's kind of underlying there, but yeah, he's fun.
It's a bad quarterback class. I could 100% see someone gambling on him.
Yeah, he's fun. This was it was a pretty fun game to be at. Obviously, very, very cool. But yeah, what else? I guess we're on this subject. Is there any other funness in college football this week? I was trying to think.
There weren't a whole ton of this was the game of the week, but
Miami, Virginia Tech. We should talk about that ending for a second.
Oh yeah, my gosh, I totally forgot about that. I'm a little miffed because for one, I mean, they called it a touchdown on the field. I don't think that was enough to overturn it, but it was a 50-50 call, so I'm not too mad about that. What I am upset about is Missouri, everyone acknowledges, played pretty poorly against Vanderbilt, and they dropped 4 spots for that. Miami, I know the AP poll came out. Where did Miami drop to? They didn't drop to further than 8, did they?
Miami was 7. They're above Mizzou.
Yeah, they're still, they didn't drop at all. And I know
No.
Ole Miss lost. I know, well, Utah losing didn't even affect them, but Miami not being punished for being for hardly beating a team that lost to a team that Mizzou hardly beat is pretty astounding to me. I just think you have to be consistent with that. I mean, what has Miami really done that Missouri hasn't at this point to have them be treated kind of differently there? I'm never one that's like, oh, the media has it out for Mizzou. I'm not someone that is into that type of rhetoric at all, but I do think that is a disparity that is a little silly to me, to not have Miami be dropped, but have Missouri be dropped 4 spots. Just keep it consistent. Like, if you're going to drop Mizzou 4 spots, fine. Drop Miami 4 spots.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
basically
I
the
agree.
same thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know. I like you said, I'm not super into that rhetoric either. Also, I just think it's too early. Like, I think once we start getting to the actual college football playoff polls, then I'll start worrying more about those types of things. Right now, I'm just like, I just want Mizzou to keep winning, and I just feel like that's always the answer to this question. It's like, if you win the games, I guess unless you're Florida State, but we have a 12-team playoff now. If you keep winning the games, like, you'll probably be where you want to be. But yeah, also on that Hail Mary, my take is the call they made on the field was wrong. I think Virginia Tech got screwed out of a win, because I also don't think that there was not enough evidence to overturn the call you made on the field, even though the call that you ended up making was the correct one. I think they should have stuck with what they said, because there wasn't enough. You couldn't tell. There's no way to tell what happened.
I do agree. I think that if I had to make a call there, I would say it was incomplete, but they called it complete on the field. I don't think there was near enough for that to be overturned, but it is what it is. I mean, that call is not what gets me upset, really, because I think it truly was a coin flip there.
Right.
But I do think it was silly that they were able to overturn that.
My favorite thing, I'm sure you saw this on Twitter, was and people will remember this, the Miami Duke game where Miami won on like the 7 laterals, and there was like 2 forward laterals when they beat Duke. That ref was the same ref as the Virginia.
Yeah, and that officiating crew was suspended for that. People forget.
For the Duke one. I remember that game. I randomly turned that game on when that happened, and I was like, what the hell? Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Also, I was getting some serious flashbacks as a Seattle Seahawks fan to the film area when they were going through the review process. It was very funny.
Right.
Yeah. Got some flashbacks. But yeah, there's your college football talk. Yeah, Alabama. It's gonna be a tough one for Mizzou. Corey Batoon against his former coach too. Another narrative.
Kane Womack.
Kane Womack, future Missouri Tigers coach, maybe. All right. My Tiger in the Wild. I'm actually going kind of back to Mizzou here. And I want to first and foremost shout out Callum McAndrew, our good friend of the program, and of course the Mizzou beat writer at the Columbia Daily Tribune. He wrote this awesome feature. I know we've talked about this on the show, but I'm using Callum's feature as an excuse to bring it up. My Tiger in the Wild's Tre Gomillion. Callum wrote a feature. I'll read the headline. Missouri basketball has Tre Gomillion back as a graduate assistant. Here's his journey. So this is your reminder before basketball season that Tre Gomillion is on the staff, because that's sick, for one. And I think this is like a super underrated thing. I think is going to help this team a lot, is having a guy like Tre Gomillion. I know, Payton, you and I can attest, like, he was such a great glue piece, even when he wasn't healthy, for that 2023 team. I felt like everything I would see was just like Tre Gomillion. He would have all these like 8.11 rebound games as like this 6'5" guard, and he has just this scrappy style. And Callum's story, go read it, please. But, kind of talks about how he's taken that attitude toward coaching after his career, kind of got, ended not by his own accord. because of injuries and stuff. So it's a great story. Go read it. But I think he's gonna be great. I think he's gonna be. And Dennis Gates called this during that 2023 season. He was like, Tre Gomillion will be on this staff one day, and he was right. So
Yeah, I do remember that, and I remember everyone pretty much agreeing with him. I mean, if nothing else, I think it helps big time with the culture aspect. And I mean, that's something that's so important to all coaches in general. Maybe it can help just kind of help bring this team together a little more. Because I mean, that felt like there were so many things wrong with last year's team that it got lost in the shuffle. It really never felt like they were like, it never felt like that group was super close or tight knit or anything. Like, I know it's mean to keep dogpiling on him, but do you really think Jesus Carolero, like, it never felt like he was super into it? I mean, he just kind of looked like he had a bad attitude at times. So I love it. I think bringing in Jeremy Sanchez is something that Dennis Gates had, like the culture was something Dennis Gates had in mind too. And Ben Sternberg, Kenny and I talked to him just last week on the last show. And he mentioned that as well. So good. I think, I don't know how much Tre Gomillion is going to help, like with the X's and O's and everything, just because I don't know how he's wired really. But I do think from just a pure like culture and like getting into a player's mindset things like that, I think Tre Gomillion will be a huge asset.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think too, like the culture thing, you and I are both college basketball fans. I feel like every good or even every surprisingly good college basketball team we see, that's like the whole thing, is that they're a super tight group. They have a good culture. They're united, and you find a way to win games against teams that are better than you. And that I feel like is kind of what Mizzou has to embrace as they kind of commence this rebuild. You have like kind of a younger team. You have a bunch of newcomers. If they can kind of play sort of in unison and they all embrace what Dennis Gates did, because that's what happened in year one. I mean, these guys all bought in, and you saw the results. I mean, Dennis Gates is a good enough X's and O's guys that you get everyone aligned, it can be fine. So
Absolutely.
I think Tre Gomillion will help with that. So there you go. There's my Tiger in the Wild. I think he's an exciting kind of piece. All right. You knew we were going to talk about it. We already kind of have with the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
Headlines. I'm going back to a Callum McAndrew treat. This is for Kenny. Kenny wanted to do his headlines related to the AP poll. I guess I'm using the tweet as a headline. Texas A&M was omitted from the AP poll, Payton. I don't know if you saw this. They were tied with UNLV at number 25, which of course, has Mizzou implications because there was confusion if this was going to be a ranked matchup or not. People thought A&M fell all the way out of the AP poll. They were just tied with UNLV at 25, so they didn't show up on the AP's website. And
okay.
Yeah.
I did not see this, but
I don't even think it's fixed. I think they just don't have A&M there, but A&M is tied for 25 with UNLV.
Yeah, no, they're still not on there technically. I mean, they didn't even show up in receiving votes.
Well, that was what the confusion was people thought they fell all the way out, but they are 25.
Right.
That's Kenny's.
But yeah, good for Mizzou that this is a ranked matchup. Okay, Miami did fall one spot. They fell to 8. So that is they're right in front of Missouri. But no, I mean, that's good for Mizzou. You want to hope Boston College keeps winning too. Boston College escaped with a win over Western Kentucky. The Eagles were down to their backup quarterback. Castellanos is hurt, but they were able to get another win out. You want Boston College to keep winning for sure. But yeah, that's good for Mizzou that A&M is still ranked. You want to keep putting those types of feathers in your caps that Missouri's getting these ranked wins. So, big opportunity for Missouri. I mean, I'll be quite frank. I mean, Missouri, if they win this game against A&M, unless they stumble in a game that they are almost certainly going to be a favorite in, they're going to punch their ticket to the college football playoff on Saturday if they win that game. And again, that's a big if because this is the SEC. It's college football. Upsets happen all the time. But Missouri, if they win against Texas A&M, will be favored in every other game that is not Alabama. Yeah. And so if you just do what you're supposed to after A&M, and hell, maybe if Boston College and A&M go on to have great seasons, maybe you get another stumble along the way to just kind of get a mulligan on. Missouri will probably be in the college football playoff, so that's kind of what's on the line for them.
I want your take on this. I've been stewing on this a little bit more, and this is not going to be a good Mizzou take, so bear with me. If they get blown out by Texas A&M and they get blown out by Alabama, and they, kind of eke out wins against everybody else, and they go 10-2, to me, I don't think that's a playoff team. I think the committee will find a way to keep them out.
I think the committee would keep them out. And again, it depends on so many things. Like, will the Big 12 is kind of cannibalizing itself right now? Yeah. I would think, honestly, there's only going to be one bid from the Big 12 right now. But can Notre Dame scratch and claw their way back in? Can LSU keep winning and maybe get their way back in? Can Ole Miss bounce back? There's a lot of other things at play, but I don't think, even if I think they should be in, if Missouri gets blown out by A&M and Alabama, they probably don't get in. And again, I think in the SEC, every 10-2 team should be in, no questions asked. I don't think anyone else thinks that way. So I would have to wager that 2 blowout losses to 2 of your probably toughest games left probably has you on the outside looking in.
Yeah. See, that's my thing. I think too many people have been on the whole, like, if you're 10-2 in the SEC, you get in. I just don't. I think Missouri's resume and schedule would be bad enough that I think the committee would figure out a way to keep them out. Yeah. I don't think they would.
Now, should they be in? That's a different conversation. I would say yes, because I think the SEC is that good that every 10-2 SEC team should be in. I understand that a lot of people hate that mindset, and oh well, I'm going to have it because you just look at those two leagues, I don't really think it's that close. Like, Michigan is number 10 right now. I don't think Michigan's the 10th best team in the nation. USC is 11. They're decent, but like, I don't see any other leagues really being that close to the SEC at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I don't know. I'd have to think about the should. I think it's just going to depend on, like you said, what kind of happens around Missouri, where I'll think, if there's someone else with a resume that's equivalent.
There's so much that's unsettled right now. I couldn't give you a concrete answer. If I had to guess, I would say Missouri probably would be on the outside looking in that scenario. If you lose close in either of those games, especially Alabama, I think you're probably fine. But yeah, blowout losses would be tough. Style points matter.
Definitely. All right. What's your headline, Payton?
Headline, we haven't talked much NFL, so I'll just go ahead and talk about it. Sam Darnold and undefeated Vikings dominate first half and hang on to beat the Packers 31-29. Caleb Evans and his plucky Minnesota Vikings, led by Sam Darnold, who was left for dead by pretty much everybody. I mean, they're 4-0 right now. I mean, the Chiefs are 4-0 as well. Are any other teams 4-0?
The Steelers lost to the Colts.
The Bills, if they at the time of recording, are 3-0. They play the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday night.
The Seahawks are on the other one, same thing. They're Monday night. So
right now, if the Super Bowl is based off pure record, it'd be Vikings Chiefs. How about that?
Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I don't think I've said this take on air because, like you said, we haven't talked much NFL. I started to get really, I was kind of like, I think Sam Darnold can do something kind of fun with this Vikings team. I was on the Sam Darnold wave. I was on that bandwagon. 8th year bump. That's all he needed. Just had to get settled. Do you know he's younger than Joe Burrow?
I did not know that, really.
I think.
How old are they?
Unless I got duped by a fake tweet, but I'm pretty sure he's younger than Joe Burrow. I believed in Sam Darnold. Also, the Vikings, and I feel like anyone who knows me knows I have this. I'm the maybe one of the biggest Justin Jefferson fans that there is. I think any quarterback can be good with him as their receiver. But
Kevin O'Connell, also very good head coach, very good offensive scheme. He's a McVay guy.
Defense is good. Brian Flores. They're fun. I like the Vikings.
They're a fun team. Now, will it last? No. I think that it's most certainly a A team that will have some regression, but hey, they're fun right now. So also for those curious, we didn't mention this in the Mizzou A&M talk. Currently, while ESPN has Mizzou as a the matchup predictor gives them a 51.7% chance of winning. ESPN Bet has Mizzou as a 1-point underdog.
Oh, I feel like that's gonna change based on what Wegman's status is. I feel like that line.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. While we're on NFL, Payton, give me a hot take for the rest of the season that you believe in, or just any general take. I don't know.
This isn't a hot take, really. To open the season, or just
or give me a Bears take as a Bears guy. Are you worried about the Vikings as a Bears fan?
I don't really care. I'm not interested in division titles in Caleb Williams' rookie year. I just want Caleb to play solid, steady football, which he did on the day of recording this. So no, he's fine. But my take right now would be that Josh Allen, and this is not hot, Josh Allen is the runaway favorite for MVP, I think. I don't think anyone has played remotely as well as him. That could change very quickly. I mean, it's where he's not getting ready for his 4th game of the year as we record this, but Mahomes has looked kind of weak at times this year. The Chiefs are good, but I mean, the Bills had lowered expectations, and Josh Allen is balling out of his mind right now. I think this is the year Josh Allen finally gets his MVP.
I like that take. I agree.
How about you?
Mine currently right now is that the Washington Commanders are going to win the NFC East, and the Eagles and Cowboys are both going to miss the playoffs. I have hated how both those teams have looked to start the year. I think there's like actually a world where the coaching negates the good talent that they actually have on their roster. I think they both could end up being pretty terrible. They've looked real bad.
Plus, I mean, the NFC East, I hated this division coming into the year. I just don't think any of the teams are that good. Mm-hmm. And nothing has really done that to dissuade me from that opinion. Washington looks good, though. And the East is so uneven. I mean, a new team wins that division every year. I don't remember. There's always that crazy stat that comes up about how there's never a repeat champ. I don't remember the last time it happened. So I could absolutely see a world where that is the case this year. I mean, Washington kind of looks like the most steady ship at the moment.
They have such a funny, like, Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury as their coaching duo is so funny to me. Like, that's such a goofy, like, team of coaches. And then, like, it looks like Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels, it's like a match made in heaven, which is kind of scary considering Cliff is like, he was the Mahomes guy and all this stuff.
Yeah, so. Cliff has given him a pretty simple offense. It's like a perfect on-ramp offense for him. I mean, it's not super complex or anything, and Daniels is executing it perfectly, and they're putting up points. That's all you can ask for.
That's my take. Do you don't have any Bears take for us? Nothing?
I don't have anything in the can for the Bears, no.
I'm freaking out because if the Seahawks beat the Lions, I'm going to really start to think that they can win the division, and I don't like...
They could, but, I mean, wait till they play the 49ers before.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Bad podcasting, sneezing on mic.
Sneezing on air. We need a cough button like we had on the radio. That didn't work. All right, there you go. There's NFL talk for the show. But I've been enjoying the NFL, though. It's been kind of fun. Well, it's been, like, sloppy, but, like, fun. I don't know. Like, I feel like people are complaining about how bad the quarterback play is. I've kind of had fun watching, even though you haven't had, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because Mahomes is bad. Everyone thinks the NFL is bad.
Yeah.
That's how it is now. Who knows?
Josh Allen's played well, so.
I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen's very fun. Speaking kind of NFL, I guess this is an okay segue. We were talking about the Chiefs. My headline reads, comes from KCUR. Shout out. Little NPR headline. One day before kickoff, KU has no signed contract with the Chiefs to play at Arrowhead Stadium. I acknowledge this got resolved. I still think it was really funny that a couple of days before they were going to play in Arrowhead, they didn't have a signed contract. Just feels very KU. Their team is a mess. They don't have a home stadium right now. And There was a photo that got posted to Twitter, I think by Barstool Mizzou, that had like there was no one in Arrowhead for their game, and then they lost to TCU after all that. After they finally got their silly Jayhawk painted on the 50-yard line, they lost.
Did they even get it painted? I can't even
Actually,
tell.
yeah, maybe they didn't even. Looks like
It just says Kansas in pretty boring font in the end zone. Yeah, Kansas is
out west
bad. They are bad this year. Like, there's no in between. I mean, Jalen Daniels is a mess, and the Jayhawks are just straight bad. They're 1-4. I mean, they haven't even played like the heavy hitters, have they? I mean, they haven't played Utah. They haven't played BYU. Has been a really surprisingly good start. Has a pretty good start to the season. Kansas State, they haven't played Kansas State yet. Yeah, Kansas is in trouble big time. Very, very, very much in jeopardy of not even making a bowl game.
They've lost to Illinois, UNLV, West Virginia, and TCU to start the year.
Yeah.
Wow,
And I mean, like,
easy schedule too. The rest of they're at Arizona State, home against Houston, at Kansas State, home Iowa State, at BYU, home Colorado, at Baylor. That's the
I mean, they were a trendy like pick to win the Big 12 because people just assumed, oh, their schedule's light. And I mean, they lost their two. They essentially are already out of Big 12 contention. I mean, losing their first two games like that. Arizona State's not super good. Houston is a mess. They'll beat Houston. But like you said, Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU back to back to back. Hell, I mean, Colorado, I mean, has looked better this year. I mean, they're not fantastic, but they could definitely beat Kansas. I mean, Baylor is not good either, but by then the damage will probably be done.
Yeah. I'm proud of us for being a college football podcast, and we went 100 or an hour and 10 minutes without talking about Colorado. But
yeah,
they're winning. They're winning games.
Buffs, they're 3-1 right now.
Yeah, right? They almost have as many wins as they did last year. If they beat this Kansas State team, the hype train's really gonna. That's really.
If they beat this Kansas State team, they're 100% going to have the eyes of the nation on them once again.
Yeah,
whether you like it or not, they will absolutely be. I mean, let's look at the rest of their games if they beat that Kansas State team. I mean, they have that then an Arizona team that might be figuring some things out. Cincinnati, Texas Tech. Texas Tech is off to a 2-0 start in Big 12 play. Utah, I mean, if Colorado can go, let's say they go 3-1 in this next stretch of games, do they maybe get game day for Utah?
Oh, probably.
Know.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
I mean, then you're Colorado. You're still only
Definitely
there
ranked.
with one loss in conference.
Yeah.
Utah is probably still going to be good. So you never know.
Good shout. I say what you will about Colorado. Travis Hunter is special.
Travis Hunter, I don't know if he will be. Could definitely be a player that deserves to be standing on the stage in New York. Maybe not as the winner, but as a finalist. Like Genty is another one. Genty, however you say it. I always feel bad because I always mispronounce it. But Boise State running back, for those that don't know. But I'm sure everyone does by now.
Yes.
Milroe, Cam Ward. That'd probably be my top four right now.
Yeah.
Genty, Milroe, Ward, and Hunter.
Which very fun to have two non-quarterbacks in that group for once.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, man. Ryan Williams is on track for like 1,300 yards and 15 receiving touchdowns. Like that probably gets you on the stage if he sustains that. Crazy.
Eventually, teams are just going to try and put the lid on.
Yeah.
His
junior year, he'll have like 600 yards because everyone will just like.
It'll be a commitment to take him out of the game.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to enjoy this while he can. All right. That's all I had for the show. Shout out Kansas for being terrible. Do you have a joke to end things off, Payton?
I do, but because I was, sharing the screen, I got to pull it up, Knowlton. So give me 1 second. Entertain the people while I look at it. Just kidding.
Podcasting.
Where do you learn how to make ice cream?
Ice cream factory. Where do you learn how to make ice cream? Someplace cold. North Pole.
Sunday school.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep. Boom.
SUNDAE. Sunday. Very nice. All right. That's all I had for the show. We'll be back with Kenny on Friday, and we'll obviously have the deep dive, the preview for Texas A&M. We'll get into all the weeds. Maybe we'll have some more news with Connor Wegman. But we thought we'd do kind of a wraparound around Mizzou's schedule. And we talked a whole bunch of college football, talked some NFL. It's a good show, Payton. Hope you all enjoyed it, and we will see you on Friday.